10 years ago, when I stood next door and announced the launch of the Arrhythmia Alliance, I really was quaking in my shoes. I had no idea what I was about to undertake. And I never thought that 10 years old, I'd be standing here with all the different companies, all the different devices, the drugs, and now we even have sources on supermarket shelves raising awareness of arrhythmias and defibrillators. One thing when you're last to speak, I've gradually been crossing everything off my list I was going to say, because thankfully everybody's said it before. And I'm really pleased because it started, and everybody would say Trudie Lobban, but now everyone's saying Arrhythmia Alliance, and that is what I've wanted, and that is what's happening. Because I have no intention of standing down yet, unless I'm pushed. But one day, I want this organisation to go on long, long after me. And the fact that people are now calling the Arrhythmia Alliance, referencing the Arrhythmia Alliance. NICE is involved, Arrhythmia Alliance is involved with NICE, with the commissioners, with the medical professions, with the cardiac societies, not just in the UK, but around the world, with Heart Rhythm Society in the US, the United Arab Emirates, Australia, South Africa, Russia's waiting for us to go there. It's just fantastic. And who would have thought 10 years ago, standing in the room next door, that we were going to have such an international impact. It's wonderful to see Thomas Farris from Sweden and Axel Brandis from Denmark, both presidents of our alliances in those respective countries. We now have over 50,000 patient and carer members of the Arrhythmia Alliance. That's huge numbers. However, there are 1 million AF patients in England alone. There are over 2 million arrhythmia sufferers. So it's great that we've got 50,000 members, but there's still a long way to go. I would love to think that the reason the others haven't become a member, which is free, is because they are accessing the right service, they are happy with their care. Sadly, as we heard, for some, as John said, it was a first for him, some people don't even know they have an arrhythmia. They don't even know they're being treated. Is it the right treatment? Is it the right therapy? Why is it I go to my doctor and I have these palpitations and he gives me some anticoagulation but I don't feel any better? We need education. We need better communication between the healthcare professional and the patient and the carer. We need education out there in the public. If you are given medication and it doesn't make you feel better, you go back and they may change the dose, they may change the drug, and you still don't feel any better, so you go back again, and after a while you give up. This is what's happening with so many AF patients, not realising that the anticoagulant isn't treating AF. They're never going to feel better just with an anticoagulant. An anticoagulant reduces their risk of an AF-related stroke. It's vitally important that they take this. They also need to be seeking treatment for AF, and that's where communication breaks down so often between the healthcare professional and the patient. And this is why we're so pleased that pharmacies are now showing an interest in coming on board. They're the ones changing these prescriptions each week, each month, and can begin to engage with the patients. When someone like Fabrice or Bernard Gallagher, someone in the news suffers a sudden cardiac arrest, it is terrible. It's awful for the family. One good thing that comes out of this is awareness and education. Fabrice had his sudden cardiac arrest that day. He had no idea how that would change this country and many parts of the world. He was saved by an automated external defibrillator. We were already placing defibrillators, and through Professor Schilling, Fabrice contacted us and wanted to become involved, and we launched the Hearts and Goals campaign, which has been highly successful. Bernard Gallagher, a past Ryder Cup president, also suffered sudden cardiac arrest last September in Aberdeen. He contacted us, and we now have Play Golf Save Lives, trying to get defibrillators into every golf course. That's fantastic, football grounds, golf courses, but what about the man and woman and the children out on the street? 100,000 sudden cardiac deaths every year in this country. 80% of those could be avoided if they were either diagnosed with an underlying potentially fatal arrhythmia and received an ICD, or there was an AED nearby when the sudden cardiac arrest occurred. And with CPR and a sudden cardiac and an AED, your chances of surviving an SCA increases to 50%. I know I'm preaching to the converted in this room, but I will never give up. 400 people die each year in fires in this country. That's a tragedy. By law, we have to have fire extinguishers. 100,000 people die from sudden cardiac arrest in this country, and there is no law for an AED. It doesn't take much to know that that's wrong. So we have to campaign to make AEDs as common as fire extinguishers. There are 14 AEDs in this building. You stop any MP you bump into and ask where they are, and it's highly unlikely they don't have a clue. Why are they hidden away in cupboards? They should be on display so anyone can grab them. So we have a lot of work to do. We've achieved a lot. John and Richard have already told you a snapshot of some of our achievements. But that's in the past. It's what we're doing to go forward. We want to ensure that arrhythmia is a household name. A few years ago, we didn't know about AIDS, we didn't know about leukemia, diabetes, and yet everybody has some knowledge of those conditions now. Hypertension, etc. We want to make sure that when the word arrhythmia is mentioned, people know it's related to your heart and to your heart rhythm. I discovered today over a cup of tea this morning that in the health checks that we're all supposed to receive over a certain age, if you already have a pre-existing condition, whether that's diabetes, whatever it might be, you're not called for a routine health check because it is assumed that you will be receiving all the regular checks. That doesn't happen. Someone with diabetes doesn't get a routine pulse check. We need to make sure that there are systematic pulse checks whenever and wherever you see your doctor. And that we should also be taking responsibility to know our own pulse. Children in school should be taught that on the national curriculum, just like they should be taught first aid and how to use an AED. We have examples of young children saving lives. A 10-year-old who saved her father's life from a sudden cardiac arrest. A 9-year-old who detected an irregular beat when they felt their grandfather's pulse, went on to be diagnosed with AF. So arrhythmias affect all ages, male, female, young, old. It doesn't matter. We all have a chance of developing an arrhythmia, or certainly knowing and caring for someone with an arrhythmia. I'm always asked, I've even been asked today, what drives me? Richard hit the nail on the head. He mentioned my husband who died and my 2 daughters. My youngest daughter has an arrhythmia. That's how it all got started. Sadly, my husband died from sudden cardiac arrest 6 years ago, and I was asked, did I consider giving up? My husband would come back and haunt me if I gave up. So no, I'm not giving up. It has to go on. But I cannot do this alone, and thankfully now I do have an excellent team, and they are taking it on. And it must go on with all of you. Most importantly, we need your support. We're desperate for funds to carry on with this work, and I thank all of our partners in the industry here today who do help us, and please continue to help us with resources and financially. But I also want to build a team of ambassadors who can represent us around the country. We have a lady here who's placed 7 AEDs in her community. She's going to come on board as an ambassador, as a volunteer, because I have too small a team to be everywhere all of the time. With the help of Fabrice and Shauna and others, we can make a difference. The almost 200 pharmacies in North East London have put Arrhythmia Alliance on the map there by carrying out their routine screening last week, which they're going to continue doing for at least another month. So anyone that can help by raising awareness, education, and to make arrhythmia a household name, please contact us. We welcome the new guidelines next week. We will be ensuring they're implemented. We welcome working with all and everybody. And most of all, thank you, everybody in this room, for supporting us, for doing your bit for arrhythmias and for making a difference.